You're looking at Dan Guzzi's pencil prelim for an unused Star Wars poster. This is what the poster looks like, or the finished poster looked like. This is the pencil prelim. Dan Guzzi, very famous for his Moonraker poster, a really wonderful piece, a couple of pieces of art, was a big poster guy back in the 70s and 80s. This was an unused version, but really gorgeous, the classic moment of Luke and Leia swinging. And I'm here with Chuck Costas at Propstore for their big EMLA-LA Entertainment Live Auction, Los Angeles, coming to you day 1, September 4th. That's going to be live and in person at the Peterson Museum in Los Angeles, California. You can sign up for phone bidding at propstore.com. And then days 2 and 3, the 5th and the 6th, which will have phone bidding and internet bidding only. No live portion. Did I get that right?
That is correct. You can telephone bid with us, which is sort of live.
Semi-live.
Yeah.
Semi-live. Kind of like, it's all AI nowadays. That's what I know about it. The unused poster, and it's so funny because it's such a good poster, even though it's unused,
yes.
I love it. And it's a nice, big piece of art. I got a lot of wall space, as they say.
Yes, so a classic moment. Yes,
yeah, classic moment, and really gorgeous and really finished, which is really nice, too. It's pretty tight for a prelim, which I think is wonderful. And I think it's, again, I think they made the right choices on the posters they did use, but I do think this is a pretty incredible poster. And this is the beginning of an incredible art selection of just various Star Wars original trilogy, sort of Lucas art that you guys have in this here. What else do we have over here?
Well, continuing along with Star Wars, we've got a person you know pretty well, Joe Johnston.
Yeah, this one is pretty neat, and I'm not going to lie, I own this, or I owned this. This is a piece, it's out of the cockpit of the Millennium Falcon, and as you can see, there's Cloud City, and it's signed by Joe right there. And what's really interesting about this is a storyboard from the original draft of Star Wars, when Princess Leia was being kept in a special prison that was in the Cloud City, and then there was also the Death Star was the weapon. It was two things. And when budget cuts hit, they basically needed to cut a couple $1 million out of the budget, and the way they solved that was turning the Death Star into the prison. You kind of glue that together. He, of course, loved the Cloud City, so that bumps over to Empire, but that budget cut, I think, makes the movie that much better. It's like one of those sort of lucky accidents that the sort of fact that they didn't have all the money in the world forced them to come up with creative solutions, and I think a much better version. But I think this storyboard is that much cooler because it is a storyboard with the Cloud City there. And we've got a couple other Joe Johnston pieces. You want to show us this fine one, which is really fascinating?
So this is a very early Joe Johnston.
Yes. This is Empire.
This is Empire, but it's the very first drawing of.
Check this out. It's the Snow Speeder. But this is drawing number 0001, and there's actually a date there, which is November 77.
Wow.
So this is probably concept design number 1 for Empire Strikes Back, which is really neat. Obviously, the Snow Speeder is not quite where it gets to. You're seeing parts of it, but there's also kind of a little bit of an X-Wing element or even a Viper element, which are all Joe Johnston, things that Joe Johnston worked on. But still really, really cool, and again, signed by Joe, which is really neat. And one last Joe piece, which is really cool, and I say that because I used to own it as well.
Also Empire?
Yep, also Empire, a really cool moment with the storyboard with a little script excerpt. You've got the Snow Speeder there, very tiny, but this is the moment where they're going after the AT-AT walkers. And again, signed by Joe. And then we kind of move, if you're talking about Star Wars, you got to talk about Ralph McQuarrie. As you may or may not know, check out the book, Art of Ralph McQuarrie, that I co-wrote, so please check that book out.
Very big book. Yeah.
This is a prelim by Ralph McQuarrie for the Star Wars Jabba the Hutt pop-up book. Really tight, really wonderful. Also used to be from my collection, as it turns out. But
got good
really,
taste in,
well, thank you. Really gorgeous detail. And Ralph, especially in his prelims, for people that have seen a lot of Ralph stuff, although we have two pieces in this grouping that are the exception, he often works small. So when you actually see a larger piece like this isn't much smaller. If you went this way, it's not much smaller than the final concept paintings.
Yeah.
He did not work big. So this is a really nice big piece for Ralph McQuarrie.
And it's color.
Yeah, and it's full color, which is really wonderful as well. And you get the full scene. And this was not mine, but kind of hold that up. And that is obviously from the duel, Vader and Luke from Empire. What's really interesting is just him sort of working out different poses, as you can see, for how Vader might be, and kind of playing with where the lightsaber in the striking. I think that is pretty gorgeous. Ralph McQuarrie, Empire Strikes Back. And then staying in the Lucasfilm family, we will take a leap of faith to the leap of faith piece. Also, Once Upon a Time from my collection. Who's the artist on this?
Mark Sullivan.
Mark Sullivan, a wonderful storyboard artist, and this is kind of a full-color storyboard, and this is the sort of invisible bridge there.
You can see it there. In some other versions,
in some versions, the point is you're more head-on, and you can't see it, and here you can. So he's sort of conceptualizing that for Spielberg, and really, really cool.
And I believe he also worked on the matte painting. So what I love about
he probably
smaller
worked small and then did big.
Yeah, and then I think ultimately he could blow those out. But I think it's great to have a smaller piece like this rather than one of those large matte paintings in your room, at least personally, because I don't have the room for that. But you could frame that up nicely and put it on the wall.
Yeah, if I showed up with a couple of large matte paintings, I think I'd be living on the street. My wife would throw me out. So this is nice and small.
Yeah,
but
small's
anyway,
good.
yeah. And we've got, this is the Star Wars art. There's a whole bunch more, but we got a couple other things to show you. So here you go. Well, we broke out the gloves because we've got what looks like a piece from a yellow pad, which, hey, honey, I bought a couple of pages from somebody's old yellow pad. That'll be very exciting for my house. But this is pretty incredible. This is a Ridleygram. In fact, we actually have 6 Ridleygrams. So what is a Ridleygram? It sounds like it's a telegram that Ridley Scott sends you, but actually that is the name given to the little drawings that he would do for the various people, the various departments. These were from, these went for the special effects department, and pretty excellent. This looks like it's the inside of a spinner. That's like a person sitting in the spinner there. That's the legs.
Yeah.
Pretty excellent. And they're all just, all different. There you see the head. I'm going to be as careful as I can with these, but you know, the POV. So again, this is how he basically communicated. Ridley Scott had his background in advertising. He's a bit of an artist himself, and obviously was just, you know, basically oversaw every part of Blade Runner and part of why it is so wonderful.
Probably his yellow notepad. Yeah.
Yes, very so, or someone's yellow notepad. But these are just really spectacular and worth checking out. Sometimes he would draw into a script. There are small little drawings in a script, but I love seeing sort of, I guess, the size of these, just the full yellow page pad. And don't worry, they're going back into Mylar. But there's 6 of these, and I actually feel like this is a heck of a lot to maybe share with someone. I know I'd love to have one of these. So if somebody's interested in the other 5, let me know.
Making deals.
Yeah, I think it'd be fun just to have one. This is just pretty great.
Yeah, no, I think that you could have one, or you could put all 6 of them together.
Yes, they would all look great, or 3 lots of 2, lots of possibilities.
Combos.
Yes, exactly. But really, really excellent. Let's. Because we were talking about the spinners, I'm going to get these organized and pretty. Let's jump over to the DeLorean. So this is a Ron Cobb drawing, the wonderful designer who worked on Star Wars, on a lot of the creatures, worked on Aliens, and then did a lot of the design work on the DeLorean. And this is sort of it's a lovely long pencil, basically profile drawing of the DeLorean. You know, really working out the sort of the engine bits, if you will, of just sort of the futuristic part of it. I guess.
It's funny. So they would have different iterations, and I think we've had a few in the past from Ron Cobb where you see sometimes more detail, but
and kind of almost in a blueprinty way, even though it's a hand drawing.
Yeah. So this one's on a thinner paper so that they could sort of trace it off of the original, and I think that's what you'll see with a lot of these is that they would work on iterations and they would transfer it over, start a new drawing.
Right. So now maybe he's playing. If you can tell, this part back here looks more worked on this drawing. There's eraser marks, there's just a little bit more pressing of the pencil. So it feels like perhaps this was the this was the form, and then this is what they were playing with variations of. That's just a guess.
Yeah,
but,
but interesting also that he signed this almost as a final drawing as well. So
Which is
it
very
was
cool.
intended
Yes.
to be like this is the
This
more
is
design
yeah, and then
section.
this obviously would get handed off, and then someone actually now has to build this thing, which is kind of wonderful. We've got another one. You want to grab that
Yeah.
one? It's in Mylar. Gloves not needed, so that's excellent. Very cool.
And this one is a little bit more detailed by a different person.
Yes,
So
this is a Probert, right?
Yes.
That's his name. Yeah.
And it looked like on this one he was working more on the engine.
Yes.
And sort of working on the detail of this. But again, this was, I believe, transferred from another drawing. Very tight, though, like almost using a rapidograph to get to these fine lines.
Yeah, really, really thin line, which is really cool.
Yeah, when I looked at it, I could see a little bit of a pencil transfer of the original drawing to this, but then it was fully inked over with these very, very fine lines to get to the detail that we've got
And
on
again,
this
signed, and is that a date? Hold on there. It looks like it, September 3rd, 1984. I don't know if that makes any sense. Does that make sense? Maybe, yeah.
I don't know if that was a
right.
special date
Right,
in Back to
yeah.
the Future history per se, but that was.
We're
one that-
going back to September 3rd,
Yes.
1984.
This is what the engine
Yeah.
looked like. Yes.
And probably one of my favorite pieces, which is not our end piece, but it is a Back to the Future piece, but I've never seen this before or anything from this. It looks like a pretty final sketch, not the final painting, for George McFly's book, A Match Made in Space.
Yeah.
So you've got the full-on drawing there, and this comes with another page that has prelims, which you can see in the catalog and online at propstore.com. So this is the final drawing, and if you go really close, you can see in pencil, Match Made in Space is written there, and George McFly is written down there. So they kind of had it blocked in of how it was going to look as the final cover. And again, these covers haven't even shown up. I love this piece of art.
And from your favorite Back to the Future movie.
Yes, and
or the
still
only
one,
right?
still
Yes.
number one, and Crispin Glover and all of those things. But I love the art. There's something about a sci-fi cover in the 80s
Yeah.
that is sort of purposely not great, like a little
it's
hokey a
supposed
little
to be
bit. Yes,
50s-ish,
exactly.
yes.
Okay, right. But I just mean, in theory, when it was published as a book,
Yeah.
I think there's sci-fi covers in the 80s look very different than novel covers, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
And I think this does a perfect job of capturing that. So this gets my vote for my absolute favorite art piece in the auction. I like them all, but this is my absolute
I like
favorite.
the DeLorean, but you know.
You're wrong.
Well, there's no wrong answer. It's like ice cream.
No,
flavors.
there is a wrong answer.
Well, I like
That's
cookie
right
dough.
answer.
What do you
Well,
like?
That's idiotic. But we got one more piece to show. Like a child cookie dough. This is an
I used to like bubble gum.
incredible John Alvin, an unused concept piece, basically.
But for the Rocketeer,
For the
which
Rocketeer,
not
yes.
necessarily known for, but I think up until that point, there wasn't a lot of finished Rocketeer pieces. Obviously, Dave Stevens did a number of these. And what I find interesting about this is, being comic book collectors as well, looks a lot like the cover to Dark Knight #1, does not?
Yes, he's kind of using the lightning bolt from Dark Knight #1, and he's using sort of that the flying up in shadows from that other Rocketeer cover. And
Yeah.
He's kind of putting them together in a really neat way. I mean, again, for people that probably weren't familiar with the Rocketeer, I think this would have been a really interesting like teaser poster of like,
Yeah.
I should go see this movie. And it's just always wonderful to see John Alvin's color work. It's just really incredible to see. And we haven't even. There's more art too. This is what we could.
Yeah.
This is some of what we could show you and kind of grab and whatnot. Check it all out. Propstore.com. The auction September 4th, 5th, and 6th. Sign up to bid. Arrange phone bidding, internet bidding, live bidding on the 4th.
Favorite
Cookie
ice
dough.
cream?
Cookie dough. Ugh. Strawberry. Mint chip.
Too traditional.